Parts of the province, there's work to be done on building the level of trust required before any decision can be made. All parts of the province, levels of trust have to be strengthened. This features prominently in our report, and it's important. But let me make a couple of points. It's not specific to New Brunswick, and it's not specific to now. It's clear that the community has been losing trust in their governments and public institutions for some time. The current U.S. election is sort of an example of what's going on there, and it's going to take time to rebuild the levels of trust. And so this is a conversation about how to rebuild the levels of trust so that we can talk effectively about social license. But it's all parts of the province.
I haven't quite absorbed everything yet, but one of Dr. Cleary's big recommendations was a health impact assessment that would be similar to an environmental impact assessment, but on the subject of health. And I haven't yet seen a mention of it, but it may be in here. What do you make of that recommendation? Is that in here somewhere?
Yes, we very much bought into that language. Yes, and it is in here.
We met with Dr. Cleary as a commission twice, once in the summer, once in the fall, and some of our people met with her people once after that. And so we had excellent input from them, and she acknowledged that that report now is, well, then it was 3 years old, and that it needed updating. But it did provide for us a good foundation for exploring the value and the need for more study, research on health impacts. And we see that being married up with the overall environmental impact, because Dr. Cleary and her people would argue that the environmental impact really didn't talk a lot about health, individual people's health, or health of other creatures in the environment. So we've got quite a lot in there in Volume 2 about that very topic.
And that would come under the single regulator.
And one of the arguments why we want a single.
To ensure that all aspects are being studied. And make, given capacity, providing capacity for monitoring and evaluating.
All right, so none on that side, everyone good? All right, well then I guess the media conference is concluded. Thank you very much.
Lisa.
Oh, Charles. Well, because I've aged since you used to come into the telegraph. And I was wearing glasses.
Yeah, I know. I did recognize you. I saw the name. Oh my God, we're looking at you.
Thanks, Charles.
You still in Boston? So the other
It's the one. She's 10. Little girl.
10 years old.
All right. I noticed that she wasn't really talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I tried to pump it.
Excuse me, there's no French thing here. What are you doing here?
Huh?
There's no French thing here. What are you doing here? What?
What?
What are you doing here?
Oh, just here to check it out.
Oh, you mean we care about the show?
Oh,
The
well, we
people
care
lives?
about the issue,
I'm giving you a
absolutely.
chance
Hey,
to.
listen, I care
there
about
we
the
go.
issue. I care
Here
about
we
the
go.
issue.
Here we go. What do you
Yeah,
care?
yeah.
What do you care about?
Well, look.
This alliance is not only a one policy party. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen.
I'll give you the
Same
opportunity.
thing, Charles. We've been saying all along. Take it to the people in a referendum. The people should have a final say whether you proceed or whether you do not.
Bilingualism or show gas?
Show gas.
Show gas.
You know what I'm talking about?
Like Chris. Lost by 25 votes.
This little diagram on the front page of this press release that is a very outdated 1970s view of the world where the environment and society and the economy are all presented as equal players, when in fact that's akin to saying that Aboriginal people who have not ceded their land are stakeholders or special interest groups. Okay, the environment environment underlies and supports and is the foundation for all of these things. And to present it as a special interest or a stakeholder, that's a huge red flag for what the work of the commission, because it shows they fundamentally do not understand the environmental situation currently in the world today.
So are you then dismissing the whole? Somebody does not.
What value does it
Laid down the gauntlet for us to turn the page and to heed the warnings of the Paris climate deal, that we have a lot of work to do to meet the climate change targets, and that we can create a lot of jobs at the same time, and that I think this conversation, everybody's tired of it, and we're ready to move on.
I have the conclusion that we're not ready for change. When you
franchement, cette affaire-là, c'est vraiment pas à souhaiter pour raison A, B, C, D.
Est-ce que vous auriez aimé qu'aujourd'hui, on vous apprenne que la commission décide oui ou non?
Mais ça n'a jamais été le but de la commission. Ils n'ont pas... j'espère... Il faut voir aussi, est-ce qu'ils ont respecté le
deal consultation that we currently do not have in New Brunswick. Excuse me. And there were some other positive things as well, as the concentration on the amount of work that has to be done in things like mapping aquifers and putting together a comprehensive plan for monitoring and evaluation of anything that should happen. Those are all very positive.
Alors, Monsieur Cardé.
Je suis vraiment heureux avec le rapport. Je pense que c'est compréhensible. L'idée d'avoir une seule agence pour être en charge de toutes les réglementations pour les industries extractives, c'était quelque chose sur la plateforme.
What the report is largely saying here, that regardless of what the government wants to do, it doesn't appear to be any movement with an industry anytime soon. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll say that again, sorry.
Well, they're claiming that whatever the government decides to do here, that there's no real clear indication that the industry is going to be moving forward anytime soon. There's no new exploration or production. So what are your thoughts on that? They're saying that there's time to make decisions here because there's nothing pushing the industry at this point.
Well, I as the Grand Chief with the Grand Council, feel that it shouldn't be the final decision of the government to whether to move forward or not to move forward. They have to invite us to the table and to be part of the discussions. So whether the government says yes or no to move forward within this, that we're strong and firm against that, we don't support this.
Did this commission ever approach you or anybody in your community about what you thought?
Yes, the commission had contacted the ex-Grand Chief Danny Innes from Tobic, and Danny had invited me to go with him, and we did present our position, and they were very respectful to our recommendations.
So I guess my last question, what value do you hold for this report that you hold in your hand? Do you think this report has value? Do you think it adds anything to the discussion here?
Yes, it does add to discussion, but we did meet with part of the commission board prior to the press conference, and we put forward some of our future recommendations to be probably to add to this report. So.
Okay. All right.
Are you more optimistic before you walk through the door in the Crown Plaza? Are you more optimistic now?
Yeah, and I just wish, I do see light, and I hope the
light and shale gas.
The light in the recommendations, And I'm hoping that the government would take these recommendations seriously, especially when they recommended to bring the indigenous people to the table.
I read the first page of the report. I read the whole thing fast, ADHD style. But the first page, it sort of said, sure, you can allow fracking, but if you fart, you're out of here. That's the bottom line.
What's that again?
The recommendation, they will go ahead with fracking, but if you fart, you're out of here. Like there's so many rules they gotta go by that if they break one rule, like I said, if they fart, that's it. It's gone. So it's not that bad. I don't think so. Well, it's pretty strict. Recommendations are pretty strict.
Yeah, pretty straight. And part of their recommendations was when they put forward the Trudeau's comments on the Truth and Reconciliation, that he respects the UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous People, and part of those recommendations is free, prior, and informed consent.
Out of media, want to talk to you, Ron. I'll let you. I can see you on the street anytime I want. No problem. Thanks.
Is that for you or for me? It was for you.
Hey, Ron, go ahead.
Ron, can I talk to you for a second?
That's right.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Give me an example of a regulator. I mean, it sounds like a mythical body that's going to build consensus and be trusted by all sides and kind of engage in consultations and also regulate. Is there a body like this out there that functions that you can give us an example?
Yeah, a good example. Certainly, it's got some flaws, but those we can also build on and try and correct those. The Environmental Protection Agency in the United States. That this is a model that operates arm's length from government, is in charge of looking at human health and the environment. It's more than 40-year history now. In many cases, doing very good, groundbreaking work. They certainly get accused of being biased by both sides from time to time, and I figure that probably shows they're doing their job right. So I think that a model like that, we could easily replicate it, and again, try and expand it a little bit to look more at the questions around the broader issues of human health, which is something that the EPA wasn't in the mandate back in the 70s when they were set up. So I think that's something that we could profitably add in here to add our own contribution to groundbreaking developments in terms of setting up agencies like that.
And you think it's possible to build a consensus? We saw in the room there's lots of people who are entrenched in it.
You're never going to get everyone happy on either side of any debate. And there are people who don't think we should ever extract any industry, don't think we should ever cut down a single tree. Some other people think we should cut down all the trees and extract anything we can from the ground. Most people are in the middle, want to know that their health is going to be protected and the environment is going to be protected. And that's the sort of position the NDP backs.
If the NDP would have won 40 seats, will we have shale gas?
We don't even know if we have shale gas because we never got around to finding that out. But we've been pretty clear that what this commission reported on today pretty much is what the NDP said we were going to do in our platform, which is no development unless you've got a full and independent agency that would look at the human health and environmental concerns. After that, you find out what's the point at which it would cost, how much we have to charge industry to get the stuff out of the ground, to do it safely with all of those environmental and human health protections. And if they want to do it, then yes, and if not, then no.
Other media want to talk to you, but only one question. I read one page, and it sort of said, sure, go ahead for shale gas, but if you fart, you're out of here. I mean, there's so many recommendations. I don't think that a company could do it.
Well, but I think that's companies have got to live up to the standards we set as a province to protect our human health and our economy. So if they can't do it, they can't make a profit without hurting our environment or hurting human health in the province. We don't want an industry like that here.
Sorry, I came in late. Thoughts on the board?
Qui est plus favorable. Qu'est-ce que ça nous a coûté? Toi, moi, qu'est-ce que ça nous a coûté? On donne le rapport, j'ai juste eu chance de lire un petit peu parce que...
So everybody's happy? You're happier, better, you're more happy than when you first walked through the door at the Crown Plaza?
Well, of course, we didn't really know what to expect when we walked into the door first thing in the morning. Well, there are definitely some problems.
Especially you Dutch people, you're not morning people, right? Go ahead. Sorry, I had to ask that.
Well, there are some, it's a big report, so we couldn't look through all of it, but the issues that we right away noticed was the fact that they're talking about an independent regulator. We know how great independent regulators have been in Canada so far, in Alberta, and we've got the NEB, so that would be a really difficult thing to establish if it can actually be truly independent, and especially with the privacy laws these days, and the problem with getting access to information, how would we ever know that it is an independent regulator?
Yeah.
The other issue is the report does seem to acknowledge that there is no social license right now. They acknowledge that the indigenous people have rights rather than that they're not a group, they're a nation, and they have land rights.
Didn't you get from, I read one page, I read the whole thing, but I read one page, the first page, and it said, go ahead with shale gas, but if you fart, you're out of here.
If you what?
If you fart, you're out of here. No, but there's so many recommendations they have to follow that I don't think the industry will even say.
For them to, it's just making it so expensive, and rightly so. But who's bearing that expense? It's the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be another colossal waste of time, and they'll find they don't have social license from the First Nations who have the right to shut it down. So why bother?
Yeah, and it's a real conflict of interest. Like the National Energy Board, its salaries are paid for by royalties from oil and gas. Their vested interest is to drive the industry forward. So a shale gas regulator in the province of New Brunswick would do the same. It's in their interest whether or not it makes no environmental or health sense to move forward. That's how their salaries are paid.
So, we'll see what Brian Gallant has to say. You want to have the last say as usual? Go ahead. Yes.
We all felt pretty suspicious when there were two paragraphs in that report that we saw in our quick perusal of it that insinuate that we cannot avoid a discussion about shale gas. They're making it sound as if our life, the way we live, is connected to shale gas. And one of the commissioners even expressed that and said, we've got hospitals that use natural gas, and now that we're not having the offshore natural gas, we need to find it somewhere else. These buildings that she's talking about used to use oil. They switched to natural gas. I think we can move into the new era, now with the support of federal government that has infrastructure money up to yin-yang for these projects, COP, the Paris Agreement. Why are we even talking about continuing finding gas? We need to do something else.
I think the panel should be congratulated with what they said. Agree?
Anybody that wants to go, I'll take it.
Okay, nobody said nothing.
It's a distraction.
A distraction, okay. Okay, now we know the rest of the story.
Oh,